excited and it feels so good. The Game Day Everyday podcast is back and better than ever. Rob Higgins, Ryan Bass along with you. Rob, of course, the executive director of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. I am Ryan Bass, and Rob, you know, one of my signature moments, I think, for you so far that I've noticed this year from afar is the fact that you chugged one of these bad boys, a Red Bull, recently at an event, notating that Red Bull Flugtag is coming back to Tampa. So I figured to start off this podcast, I would do the same as you, buddy, but in record time. So take it away while I down this thing.
Let's see it. Oh my gosh, here he goes. In 3, 2, 1. That is definitely faster than me. And I have to give you the edge on the tiebreaker. Unlike the time that I beat you in the 40-yard dash and in the Tampa Bay 55 podcast back in the day when like people thought it was a tie, but I really just inched out the finish line. I'll give you the tie on this one. You'll take it because that is not a sugar-free. And when I chugged mine at the announcement last week that Red Bull Flugtag is coming back to our community for the third time, mine was a sugar-free. So I went unleaded. You went leaded.
Do you understand how hopped up I'm about to be at the end of this podcast? Because I didn't even take into account that you cheated with the sugar-free edition. And now I've got the full sugar blast here from a Red Bull. That was gratifying, tasty, and man, am I excited that Flugtag is coming back to town, Rob. It is crazy. I can't believe, and for the first time since 2011, like I was racking it in my brain that it's been that long since it's been here in our hometown, but so excited to welcome it back. November 9th, outside the Tampa Convention Center. I know there's about to be 100,000 people that'll be descending upon the convention center for it. How pumped are you, man? Take me through the excitement, take me through the announcement, and what fans can expect coming up on November 9th.
Oh, we are thrilled. So when we hosted in 2008, we had over 100,000 people. We set a record for North America. And then 3 years later, with the last time we hosted in 2011, we had over 125,000 people and broke our own North American record. So it's an event that's truly incredible. I think it's innovative. It's unique. It's unlike anything else. We talked about at the press conference about, I think there's a lot of focus on a lot of the traditional events out there, the ball and stick sports, but we always try to look at things from a non-traditional standpoint. Certainly, we love all the collegiate championships and the Super Bowls and all of those things, but we also want to make sure we're leaving no stone unturned when it comes to trying to recruit really unique and innovative events to our community. So to have Flugtag coming back a third time, for those that aren't familiar, my best suggestion would be to go on YouTube and search for Flugtag. You will go down a rabbit hole that will have you entertained for several hours. And I think that's one of the great benefits of hosting is not only it brings a ton of people both from a local and visitation standpoint, but then they video each of these flights, and we'll talk about what the actual event is here in just a second, but each of these flights, and then they get posted on YouTube and they get millions and millions of views. And by design, we have the event footprint set up right in front of the convention center where you've got these great shots into the skyline, our beautiful downtown skyline, and our picturesque waterways and everything else all tied up into it. So it's an event that checks a lot of boxes for us. It's one that we've been working hard for the last 13 years to get back. We've gotten close previously a few times, but to have it finally announced and let the cat out of the bag that Flugtag is making its return on November 9th is really incredible.
And the virality aspect of going viral has changed a lot since 2011. So I'm excited for folks to be able to partake in this, obviously in person, but also to get a chance to witness it through TikTok, through Instagram, through all the social media channels as well, including YouTube. It's going to be a lot of fun. Up to 40 teams are going to be judged, by the way, on the design of their craft, creativity, pre-flight skit, all of that, the distance. It's all going to come into play here. Let's go all the way back. 2008. You had Team Tampa Bay Watch, which was the winner back then, and then Willy Wonka's Amazing Flying Flugtag Adventure in 2011. Say that one 3 times fast. Those were the past winners, and really excited, Rob, to see who can take this year's competition.
A lot of people don't realize, though, while it's different team names, that's actually the same team. So they're going for a historic three-peat November 9th at the convention center. They actually came out to the press conference and did a bunch of interviews, and we celebrated them as part of it. But In terms of the timeline, basically registration will open on July 8th. That's where you can go to redbull.com and fill out your application to be one of the teams, one of those 40 teams that's picked to be able to compete. That application period will end September 19th, and then team selection is September 23rd. So an awesome opportunity to grab 4 friends. It's 5 people total in the flight crew that end up being a part of what's going to be an awesome day here in Tampa Bay.
Super excited for it. November 9th can't come soon enough, but we've got some events before that, Rob, and we'll get to the women's Final Four and the planning for April of 2025 coming up. But I want to get to the Stateside Cup because this is going to be an awesome opportunity. We just saw, Copa America is obviously going on right now, unfortunately, with the U.S. bowing out here this week, but still so much buzz, so much excitement about around the sport of football. And we get an opportunity to host 2 really legendary clubs from overseas, from London, here in town on August 3rd for the Stateside Cup. It's going to be West Ham and Crystal Palace at Raymond James Stadium. That's on August 3rd. Rob, how cool is this opportunity to be able to have such an international flavor here coming? Obviously, there's going to be other venues and cities that are featured. Raymond James Stadium in Tampa will obviously be a huge footprint of this event as well. Take me through it, how we were able to land this event, and how excited you are to have these 2 premier, clubs in town.
So one of our event organizers on the youth side is a company called Elite Sports Groups. Mike Libber and a handful of other individuals are involved, and we've had a great relationship with them when it comes to hosting youth events, especially in recent years at the SportsPlex, which I know we're going to touch on a little bit later on in the episode. But they had this idea to create the Stateside Cup. It's going to take place in 3 different communities across the country, 1 in Annapolis, 1 in Jacksonville, and then the 3rd one takes place right here in our backyard at Raymond James Stadium on August 3rd. So to have Crystal Palace and West Ham United come into our community is phenomenal. It's exciting. We're really looking forward to it. You can sense the momentum building, not only with our youth soccer community, but just football fans from around the region are making their plans to join us on August 3rd. So really our hats off to Elite for having the vision for the event and putting it all together. And now we're looking forward to what should be a special day on August the 3rd.
I have a mutual friend, Rebecca Rowley, who's actually the head of partnership management at West Ham United. And so she's been excited. We've been texting back and forth. She's pumped. She lives over in London now. She's from South Florida, where I'm from. And so the excitement level from her, you could feel how palpable it is, Robin. We've seen a lot of growth of different sports in our area. We'll be talking about women's basketball, women's volleyball, of course. We've had Super Bowls. We've had, college football national championships. But to be able to continue to hone in on sports like football and soccer that has such a national brand recognition, international recognition. How excited are you to continually plant that flag here in Tampa, as well as our city being a premier destination to host one of the most beloved sports in the world?
Well, we have a really diverse and eclectic community, and we want our event portfolio to reflect that. We want to have something for everybody. So you look at just this year alone, whether it was WWE's Royal Rumble in January, to the Savannah Bananas in February, to the announcement last week about Flugtag, to the Stateside Cup, and to complement all of the different major events that we've hosted, whether it be Frozen Four, the NCAA Volleyball Championship this past year. We want to have this really broad portfolio of events that is enticing to both visitors and locals alike. So we think that not only does that Flugtag announcement, but then also Stateside Cup and so many of the other events on the horizon, like our record 4th women's Final Four, all play in to our community being as special as it is.
Look at you with the beautiful segue. April 4th and 6th, 2025 at Amalie Arena. You and I have done this before. Look at that chemistry continuing here. I love it. I love it. Yeah, hopping right back on. I will say, speaking of hopping, I'm hopped up now. I mean, the Red Bull is just flowing through the
Shot
veins
out
right
of the
now.
cannon, ready to
Oh,
attack
you
this
could feel it. You
afternoon.
got it, right? I mean, the speed.
Yes.
If you want to listen to this on 2 times speed, you'll really understand how I feel right now in terms of this Red Bull. But you mentioned it, women's Final Four. So excited! Record fourth time it's coming to our area. I remember, Rob, for the opportunity I got to cover the 2019 women's Final Four, where Kim Mulkey's Baylor Bears were able to win that national championship, and you had so much buzz around that event. And I remember thinking, as I was there, covering it outside Amalie Arena and being inside and getting a chance to interview the coaches and getting the feel for it, of just how much this sport was ready to explode, right? You could feel it at that point of the momentum building within, women's basketball. And obviously, as we've seen last year, now carried into the WNBA, and what we've seen with the, Angel Reese's, the Caitlin Clarks of the world, and the interest around college basketball and professional women's basketball has been immense. And Rob, I can't wait for us to be able to build off of that momentum from Cleveland and bring one of the premier events now in sports, in one of the fastest growing sports in the world, here to our city coming up next April.
I think the really cool part of it is, while we've had great fortune in hosting in 08 and 15 and 19, and they've been wonderful experiences each time. The fact that right now we're both our hometown, Tampa Bay, as well as the women's Final Four, are on these great trajectories where I would call it parallel paths, where we both feel like we have so much momentum behind each other, and the fact that we're going to converge for what's going to be an incredible record fourth NCAA Women's Final Four here is fantastic. So the planning has been well underway. I think the NCAA, it's only July, and I bet they've been here a half a dozen times already. They're back here in a couple weeks. They just were here a couple weeks ago. We're seeing a lot of their partners come into our community and start to make their plans too. And I think just the way the event continues to elevate, if for our local folks who haven't been to another one since 2019, you're not going to recognize the women's Final Four, how much it's grown, just as for the fans that came here in 2019 are going to recognize us as a community. So I think, again, it's such a great match made in heaven when you look at the timing of where we're at as a community and the timing with where they're at as an event. We just that's what's got us so excited.
I mean, take Water Street, for example, right? If you came here in 2019 and before you walked to Amalie, if you look to your left, what's there now did not exist back in 2019. And so, even the trajectory of that, I love that. And I know there's a lot of planning to come, Rob, but are there certain tentpole or intricate details that have been a part of other women's Final Fours? Maybe it is the Beyond Series, for example, that will be continued in 2025 when we host the women's Final Four for a record fourth time.
Absolutely. I mean, the social legacy around the women's Final Four is incredible. We certainly want to take the playbook of things that have worked here in the past, but then add in new things and not rest on our laurels. So the partnership with the NCAA has been fantastic. We're talking not only every single day, but probably every single hour, between the leadership we have with Claire Lessinger and our entire staff. We're fully immersed in it, and preparing for what's going to be an incredible women's Final Four come April.
We're super excited for it. And again, we'll have much more to come here on the Gameday Everyday podcast. And of course, TampaBaySports.org, getting you ready for the women's Final Four. And I know, Rob, you and I will do some special content as we get closer and closer to April of next year. And look, big tentpole events like that obviously tell the story of our community. And as we've talked about, our postcards or snapshots of the growth of Tampa Bay and what we can become. But I think another story that shares truly, and maybe it's an underdog story, if you will, of the success of our community, the growth of not just professional sports, international sports, but also youth sports with the SportsPlex and the success we've had there, Rob. I know, so cool to see, for what it's done for Hillsborough County's tourism, celebrating its 5th anniversary. And boy, will I tell you, I know the expectations you had going into, this complex being able to be used as a world-class facility. I think, has it even reached beyond the expectation level that you had, Rob?
Well, anytime there's a facility like this, usually what happens anywhere in the country, a pre-feasibility study, pre-construction feasibility study is done. So a third party that's unbiased can come in and basically predict based off of the size and scope of the facility, the location, the market, all of those different variables, how the facility will do traditionally in its first 5 years. So with this facility, the SportsPlex, a pre-construction feasibility study was done. And what we do is we don't just take that study and throw it on a shelf for nobody to ever see it. A lot of communities, all due respect to them, what happens is, there's some really optimistic numbers that are used, like pie in the sky numbers that helps get the facility approved by all the key stakeholders. And then nobody ever goes and revisits the study. Here, our community will hold ourselves accountable to it. So we've continued to benchmark against that pre-construction feasibility study, and we just wrapped up the 5-year time frame that study really encapsulates, and the results have been fantastic, and they show what has been an incredible return on investment. So you look at, for example, the number of events. That study said that we should have done through 5 years 150 events, and we ended up doing 161. But the most impressive number is that study said that we should do around 151,000 room nights from those 150 events in the first 5 years. And instead of the 151,000 room nights, the facility actually generated 218,000 hotel visitor room nights, which is a 45% increase from what it was supposed to do. And I think that's really a great testament to a variety of different things. First and foremost, the vision of the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners for believing in the original study and making the actual facility happen. Then the partnership between the Tampa Sports Authority and Tampa Bay Sports Commission, where they really operate and manage the facility. We help market it, and we work together to bring all these great events here that are taking place almost each and every weekend. And then third, I think the leadership of our team between Jason Augie, Tony Diaz, our entire staff really pulling in the same direction to try to make, as much happen from a youth and amateur standpoint that we possibly can. So the SportsPlex continues to have tremendous return on investment for our community. There's a great article on the Sports Commission website, tampabaysports.org, that Joey Johnston wrote, that really showcases a variety of the events that we've had there, as well as a lot of the success that's taken place in these first 5 years.
161 events, as you mentioned, over the 5 years. Total attendance surpassing 372,000 spectators. And I thought the cool note in that article from Joey too was nearly 175,000 of them coming from outside the Tampa Bay area. So Rob, showing that while these world-class facilities are housed in Hillsborough County, it is a destination for youth and amateur sports from folks all over the country and all over the world to come here and experience that. I mean, 15 full-size fields, 10 multi-purpose fields, 4 quad fields, championship field, locker rooms, multi-purpose rooms. When you talk about LED light, I mean, it's got everything. It is a premier destination. And Rob, I think it speaks to the work again that your team has done, that Hillsborough County has done, in making this one of the go-to sources of having a sportsplex really in the entire country. I'd put it up with anyone in the entire nation, Rob. It's been awesome to see the success.
Well, I think we've proven sports tourism, whether it was in 2009 and how the numbers just continue to hold up during the recession. We saw that it was really recession proof. And then during the pandemic, with how well the numbers did, we were really pandemic proof. So I think you've seen the communities that have invested in sports tourism have continued to thrive. When we first started 20 years ago, there's about 100 sports commissions across the country. You and I have talked about it before, but now there's over 650. And I think it's because people see, if you invest in sports tourism for your community, it's going to pay huge dividends. And I think the fact that we've got such a great facility, as well as so many great partnerships that are centered around the SportsPlex, it's paid huge dividends for the community. There's no doubt.
There's been lots of events that have put our city on the map. One franchise in particular that at one point in time was rated by ESPN as the #1 franchise in all of sports which was the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think we still hold that in high regard as well, being one of the top franchises on the entire globe. While they have brought so much to this community in terms of fan buzz, excitement, and the sport of hockey has grown here, it really planted its flag. By the way, you think of the last, 5 years in a row, a Florida team has made it to the Stanley Cup final. I think testament to the growth of what we've done here in our community for sure. But Steven Stamkos, Rob, has been the catalyst for all of that, right? A two-time Stanley Cup champion. I've covered both of those championships. I covered the boat parades as well here in this community. Rob, obviously a sad day for our community to lose Stammer. But I think, we'll have time to reflect on that. I think for what it is right now to just really honor his legacy, being the franchise leader in games played, leader in goals, leader in points, bringing 2 titles, living up to every expectation as the #1 overall pick in 08. I saw your post, penning a touching tribute to Stammer. You've got to know him personally, Rob. Certainly he will be missed and has been the cornerstone of what has been the most successful franchise in sports.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many great stories around Stammer, and not only was he a captain for us on the ice, he was a captain for us off the ice. Not only was he a captain for the Lightning, he was a captain for Team Tampa Bay, and his efforts to really help put our community on the map, again, not only through what he did for the Lightning, but then also just his work in the community have been incredible. I mean, I think back, 16 years ago, one of his first weeks in our community, we had him speak to a couple hundred young professionals. And I remember walking away from that event just being blown away by how poised and, how well thought and how just great of a guy he was at the age of 18. And then you fast forward, and whether it was helping promote women's Final Fours, helping promote Frozen Fours, helping promote NHL All-Star here, coming to Sneaker Soiree. The list goes on and on. I mean, he just was a fantastic guy. We wish him nothing but the best in Nashville. Certainly we'll be rooting him on there, but we also understand the business aspect of it all too. And certainly have a ton of respect for the Lightning organization and where the team's headed in the future. So really our hats off to Stammer for everything he's done. He's going to be a member of Team Tampa Bay now and forever. That's for sure.
I mean, I've said this to you before, Rob, but I think I was the catalyst for the Tampa to Nashville move. And I think everyone's just been copying me ever since. I mean, look, there's one vanguard to this, and clearly the lines keep pointing back to this guy. I'm just saying.
Hey, is it you or is it Bill Wickett? I think it may have been you.
Listen,
or was it
I give a lot of credit to Bill, and Bill's done a lot of fine things over there, but I'm pretty sure I was right before Bill. I think Bill followed me, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the timeline of how events went, but I could be mistaken. So
all right, well, let's go ahead and cut that off now at the pass and make sure we retain as many Team Tampa players as we can.
To Stammer, thank you for what you've done for our community. It's been so much fun to see you grow throughout, and obviously we will continue our path forward and wish Stammer well for sure. Rob, I'm going to not drink another one of these until November 9th, because I think my heart it's going 1,000 miles an hour, but excitement because I got to see you. We got to do this podcast for the first time. I drank one of these things and I'm ready to, I got another one here. Should I? No, I'll wait. This will be,
ration it out, but
November 9th.
One of these
November
days,
9th.
you and I are going to crack a Red Bull together. And there's no doubt we could not be more excited jointly here for Flugtag on November the 9th.
It gives you wings, and you certainly have them as well, my friend. Excited for everything to come here on Team Tampa Bay in the months and years ahead. The Game Day Everyday Podcast. Cheers, ladies and gents. We'll see you on the next episode.